I'm not sure how many people are even aware of this because I just found out about this earlier today, but Capcom was hacked and over 350,000 people's personal data might be out there. Addresses, phone numbers, and more included. This is pretty terrible. Let me give you a quick little rundown. A recent ransomware attack on Capcom may have compromised personal data for approximately 350,000 people. In a post on its website, Capcom says it shut down its systems on November 2nd and began investigating the company, then confirmed a targeted attack against the company using ransomware, which destroyed and encrypted data on its servers by an organization demanding ransom money because the overall number of potentially compromised data cannot specifically be ascertained due to issues including some logs having been lost as a result of the attack. Capcom has listed the maximum number of items it has determined to potentially have been affected at the present time, the company says. This is pretty bad. I'm really surprised this isn't a bigger story, to be honest. Lots of stuff got leaked, particularly future plans for games and all kinds of stuff. Like, there's all kinds of leaks running around, which I'm not really going to cover too much. The only thing that I think is ridiculous is apparently there's a Battle Royale Resident Evil in the works. What a stupid idea. Who the hell would want to play Resident Evil Battle Royale? Now, who knows? Maybe they could make it good. I suppose if there were zombies all over the place and then you had to deal with other survivors, but I feel like that's been done before. Could you really? I mean, you're talking about having to put tons of zombies on an island? I guess they did it in Dead Rising, but Dead Rising didn't have a bunch of 100 players running around in it. So I don't know. I wonder if they could make that work. It could either be really amazing or really bad. But anyway, let's talk about some of the business strategies and deals that came out of the leaked information. I'm not going over any of the games. I'm hearing rumors that Capcom is actually striking down videos that cover this stuff. Now that will be interesting. Are they going to go full Naughty Dog? Because I'm telling you, in these leaks, it says they're inspired by The Last of Us Part 2, which I find extremely interesting. That game was a complete failure, if you really think about it. The long-term sales of that game were in the toilet. But let's start here. So I'm not sure. It's unclear if this was a presentation to workers on how to make games or if this is actual guidelines. A lot of this is, as they note here, utilizes unverified third-party translation. So I would say take this with somewhat of a grain of salt. So here is what they're saying. Among the documentation includes a presentation on PC and advertising materials and how to avoid drama and controversy. This includes avoiding the use of language that can be deemed as discriminatory or prejudice, and will result in new guidelines for each region's PR and advertising material for creators. Even so, some of the documentation discusses what to do and what to avoid as though it applied to game designers, though this may be the result of how it was translated into English. This includes gender-neutral cosmetic options, only featuring certain ethnicities or portraying them as unequal or stereotypical, and avoiding any kind of hot, spicy language and jokes, unless inevitable based on the context of the story or narrative. So here's some of the funny stuff, okay? So apparently in this presentation, when they're portraying, positive group presentation, particularly with women, The Last of Us Part 2 was featured along with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I didn't really mind the new Lara Croft, but this is funny. So The Last of Us Part 2 is being portrayed as a positive way for them to portray their female characters, at least. And I really wonder about that. They're kind of unclear because it just says sexuality and then group membership here. So it's unclear because Abby, from what I remember, wasn't. I think she's a female that's into dudes. I'm not sure I'm not entirely sure in that. There was a lot of confusion with that character, but just the fact that they're portraying that as a positive seems like, what are you doing, Capcom? It seems like, from reading through all this, they're debating about like taking their games into a woke direction. So right here, a negative example would be Princess Peach and Zelda, because they're damsels in distress. And they even used an image from the Zelda in Breath of the Wild where she has a major role. So that's interesting. They also discuss not using Merry Christmas, not using pigs if it's in a certain, if you're trying to, because you want to put this game in the Middle East, so they don't want you using pigs and stuff like this. The presentation recommends characters that appeal to a wide range of people, with male and female player characters being treated the same within a video game. Custom characters should be able to have any haircut or facial hair in various body types. Having hot ladies, such as using them with bikini costumes or lewd poses and costumes, should be equal, so you should be able to put the men in them. That wouldn't matter. I find that funny that, so here's what's funny about that. Okay. You can't just put the men in there. Having the women in those poses is enough for a meltdown. So saying, oh, we can put the men in those lewd poses too, that's not going to quite fly. It's not going to quite work. So that's pretty much it. That's kind of like a quick rundown. It's interesting because it seems like Capcom's actually like going to move in this direction. Maybe they're at least advising their game creators to go down this path of PC, like a PC prep before they make games. And I find it very distressing that The Last of Us Part 2 is being influenced in any way for their game design. So I don't know. Take some of this with a grain of salt, like I said, but I got to be honest, it wouldn't shock me because the money isn't in Japan anymore, and Capcom is a Japanese publisher, but like most of them, they're making, like the West is where all the money is now when it comes to these big AAA games. Because I've talked about this before, the Japanese people are mostly handheld gamers now, somewhat. As last time I checked, that was the case. And I'm not saying all of them are, but I mean, come on, the PlayStation 4 barely sold there. 11 million units or something, and then 140-something million of the install base is worldwide. So, I mean, you can kind of do the math there. But the Switch and the Vita and all those systems, they do very, very well. So, like, a lot of these big AAA games that run on PCs and console hardware, traditional console hardware, like an Xbox or a PlayStation, they're all in the West. So now it seems like even Japanese publishers are starting to kind of, and I don't know why they're going in this direction, because this doesn't sell games. It's just pleasing weirdos on Twitter. You want to avoid drama, just don't engage with the weirdos and you'll be fine and you'll make money. But I don't know. This is bad news either way. So hopefully this is not the real deal and this isn't the way they're going. But like I said, given the current climate, I would not be shocked and surprised. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think about all this? Also, if you would, please like and share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you hit that notification bell. I'll see all of you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.